The warning that no one took seriously. The great Galactic Council hall shimmered like 1,000 suns trapped in crystal walls. Hundreds of alien delegates filled the vast chamber, each representing a world that had survived wars, hunger, and time itself. Their voices rose and fell like thunder, full of pride and arrogance. They believed nothing in the galaxy could surprise them anymore. At the center stood Elder Varen, the oldest member of the council. His skin was silver and his eyes glowed like dying stars. He leaned on his staff as he spoke, voice trembling but sharp. "They are waking up," he said. "And once they understand what they truly are, not even the stars will be safe." The words fell into silence. For a moment no one moved. Then laughter broke out. Low at first, then loud mocking, echoing through the hall. The Velkari ambassador, Lord Xylan, stood and smirked. "You speak of the humans again, old one? Those primitive creatures still burning fuel to fly. They can barely reach their own moon." More laughter followed. Varen's hands tightened around his staff. He projected a hologram of Earth above the table, a small blue world spinning in quiet peace. "You see only their machines," Varen whispered. "But not their minds, not their history, not their rage." Lord Xylan waved a claw dismissively. "Rage? What can rage do against plasma cannons and interstellar fleets?" The other delegates nodded, confident, blind. To them, Earth was just another primitive sphere, unimportant, unthreatening. Varen sighed, eyes heavy with centuries of memory. "The ancients made them," he said softly, "and the ancients erased them once before." That sentence chilled a few younger members. The archivist of Teralis, a nervous insectoid, leaned forward. "Are you saying the humans were once part of the ancients' creations?" "Yes," Varen replied. "Created to fight, to adapt, to survive anything, even extinction." But before he could continue, Xylan slammed his fist on the table. "Enough fairy tales. We are the strongest civilization in this galaxy. If humans ever dared to rise, we would crush them before their first shot left orbit." The council broke into arguments. The room filled with flashing colors, clicking sounds, and hissing voices. Some wanted to study humanity, some wanted to ignore them, but most simply didn't care. The arrogance of power drowned every whisper of caution. Varen looked at them all and felt an ache deep in his chest. He remembered the first time he heard of Earth, centuries ago, a quiet signal, a heartbeat of intelligence hidden in the dark. Humans had always been underestimated, always small, always ignored until it was too late. "They will not warn twice," he said quietly. But no one heard him. The meeting ended with laughter and pride. The council voted to classify Earth as non-threat. No further observation required, no interference needed. The hall lights dimmed, the members left, their robes shining, their egos even brighter. But Varen stayed behind. He turned toward the hologram of Earth still floating in the air. Clouds moved softly across its surface. Storms danced over oceans. "You feel it too, don't you?" he whispered. "They're changing, far away, beyond the council's reach." Deep inside the Sol system, something stirred. On a quiet military base on Earth's moon, human scientists watched screens flicker as an unknown energy wave pulsed through space. Commander Lewis frowned, tapping the screen. "What is that?" No one could answer. The signal was not from any known star, not from any satellite. It was everywhere, like the universe itself was holding its breath. Meanwhile, in the council hall, the lights flickered for a split second. Varen's staff vibrated as if it recognized the signal. He froze, eyes widening. "It begins," he whispered, but no one cared. The Velkari Empire had already decided to send a research team to Earth, to capture samples, study human biology, prove Varen wrong. They mocked him one last time before leaving. "We'll bring you a human skull as a souvenir," Xylan joked. And the other ambassadors laughed again as their ships departed. Elder Varen stood at the balcony of the council tower. The galaxy stretched endlessly before him, so full of pride, so blind. "You laugh now," he said softly, "but soon you'll remember this day." That night, far across the void, a small human ship in low orbit activated something new, something no alien sensor could explain. It was not a weapon, not a shield. It was a pulse, a code, a whisper sent into the stars, a message only those who once erased humanity would understand. "We are awake." And as that signal spread through the silent blackness of space, Elder Varen watched the stars flicker in patterns unseen for thousands of years. He closed his eyes, a single tear tracing down his ancient face. "The council tried to warn them," he murmured. But arrogance. Arrogance always destroys first. The stars burned quietly, waiting for the next move, and somewhere, deep in the dark between galaxies, something answered back. The first contact that should never have happened. The Valkyrie fleet moved through the dark like silver knives cutting across black velvet. Dozens of warships, smooth and deadly, shimmered in the silence of deep space. Each ship carried the arrogance of its empire, banners glowing in pride. They were coming for Earth, for trophies, for proof, for power. Lord Xylan stood at the bridge of his flagship, the eternal blade, hands folded behind his back. He looked at the small blue planet ahead and smiled. "So this is the great human threat Elder Varen warned us about?" He mocked. His officers laughed. The sound cold and sharp. "Primitive, unarmed. Unworthy," said Commander Tharok. "We'll be home before the next solar cycle." They didn't even activate full shields. They believed humans had nothing that could touch them. Pride had blinded them more than distance ever could. The fleet entered Earth's orbit quietly. Scanning the surface, cities flickered like fireflies. Oceans shimmered in the sunlight. To Xylan, it looked peaceful, too peaceful. He wanted chaos, resistance, something to crush. "Send down the scout teams," he ordered. "I want specimens alive." 5 dropships broke away, glowing like falling stars, entering the thin blue atmosphere. Each carried elite soldiers and trained killers with centuries of experience. Their mission was simple. Land, capture, extract, return, but one by one. They vanished, no explosion, no distress call, no sign at all. Their signals just disappeared. The command deck went silent. A low alarm beeped, steady and calm. Xylan frowned. "Report," he snapped. "Scout Team Alpha, gone. Scout Team Beta, gone." All 5 ships lost contact, the technician stammered. "Impossible," Xylan growled. "Find them." The sensors found nothing, only static. But within that static, a faint whisper began to rise. At first it sounded like noise, then the bridge grew colder as words became clear. "You shouldn't have come here." The voice was human, deep, calm, emotionless. Every alien on the bridge froze. The technician's hand shook. That came from inside our ship," Xylan snarled. "Trace it." But before they could, the main screen flickered. A video appeared, dark, grainy, recorded from one of the lost scout ships. The soldiers stood in a ruined building on Earth. Weapons ready, something moved in the shadows. A figure stepped forward, human, wearing black armor with no insignia. His face was hidden behind a cracked helmet. His voice steady. "You came to study us," he said. "Now we'll study you." Then the camera cut to static. Silence filled the room, heavy and suffocating. For the first time in his life, Lord Xylan felt something strange, not anger, not pride, but unease. "Send a drone," he ordered quietly. "I want to see what's down there." The drone descended through the clouds, scanning for life. At first it showed empty fields, forests, rivers. Then it found one of the crash sites. The dropship lay split open, not by explosion, but by precision. Every wire, every circuit, every bone, carefully removed, studied and placed in neat rows by the stars. The officer whispered. It wasn't destruction, it was research. Someone had examined their technology and understood it. Suddenly the drone's camera turned. For a fraction of a second, the image showed a human woman standing on the hill nearby. No armor, no weapon, only calm eyes staring directly into the lens. Then so the feed went black. The bridge alarms wailed. Systems flickered, lights dimmed. "We're losing power." The engineer shouted, "How?" "There's no ship near us." Then across every screen in the Valkyrie fleet, a new symbol appeared. A simple circle with 3 lines radiating from its center. Underneath it, in human language, appeared the words, "We know you're watching." Panic broke across the fleet. Some ships tried to pull back. Others powered weapons, but every system went dead. Engines silenced, weapons cold, communication gone. Outside, the stars themselves seemed to vanish as a black mist surrounded the fleet. Then, one by one, human ships uncloaked. They were small, sleek, silent, and terrifying. No sound, no transmission, no demand. They simply drifted closer, hundreds of them, surrounding the Valkyrie armada like predators circling prey. Lord Xylan stared at the view, his mouth dry. "What are they waiting for?" he whispered. The comm crackled once more. The same human voice returned, colder now. "We gave you a chance to listen. You laughed. Now you'll understand silence. A flash, invisible, soundless. spread across the void. All Velkari ships froze mid-space, lights flickering out. Every system shut down completely. The eternal blade hung in darkness, floating like a corpse in orbit and from Earth. Thousands of satellites turned their lenses toward the dead fleet, recording, scanning, learning within minutes. Humanity had gathered everything. Ship designs, weapon codes, command frequencies, every secret the Velkari thought they owned, back on the ground. Commander Lewis of Earth's Defense Initiative looked at the screens and nodded slowly. "They came to test us," he said. "Now they'll teach the rest of the galaxy," Elder Varen, light years away, woke from a restless sleep. His staff vibrated again. He looked to the stars and whispered, "It's begun, hasn't it?" No answer came, only silence. A silence that spread across the stars like a shadow. The silence before a storm that would soon consume them all. The fall of the Velkari fleet. The eternal blade drifted in darkness, no engines, no sound, no power. Only the faint reflection of Earth's moonlight across its silver hull. Inside, panic had become a living thing, crawling through every corridor like smoke. Lord Xylan slammed his fist against the control console. "Restart the systems," he shouted. The engineers worked in terror, claws tapping screens, tails shaking, but nothing responded. Every ship in the fleet hung frozen, a graveyard of light and pride on the bridge. Commander Tharok's voice trembled. "My lord, even backup generators are gone. It's like someone erased the code itself, erased, not destroyed." The difference hit Xylan like cold water. This wasn't an attack, it was control. Outside the window, one of the human ships drifted closer. It was smaller than a Velkari cruiser, silent, black as the void itself. But its design was strange, smooth, alive, almost like it breathed. Blue light pulsed beneath its surface in rhythm with the crew's own heartbeats. "Open a channel," Xylan commanded, his voice now low and tense. "Maybe we can talk." Static filled the room. Then cleared, a human face appeared. Calm, expressionless, lit by dim blue light. "This is Captain Elias Ward of the Earth Defense Command," the voice said slowly. "You entered restricted space. Surrender your data and retreat immediately," Xylan hissed, pride rising again. "You dare give orders to the Velkari Empire?" He leaned forward, eyes glowing red. "We are the rulers of 600 worlds." Ward didn't blink. "Then you should have learned from at least one of them," he replied. Voice colder than space before Xylan could respond. Every screen on the bridge changed, one by one. The other Velkari ships appeared on screen, their crews screaming, lights flickering, oxygen alarms sounding. They were alive. But something was happening inside their ships, every computer, every circuit, every system was rewriting itself. Lines of code streaming in human language. Fast, endless, unstoppable, Tharok gasped. "They're inside our systems." "They're copying everything," Xylan snarled. "Shut it down." But there was nothing to shut down anymore. Humanity wasn't fighting for territory. They were harvesting knowledge. And the Velkari fleet was now an open book. Outside, Earth's shadow stretched across space. The human fleet began to move. Not with chaos, but precision. Hundreds of small drones emerged from their ships, glowing faint blue. They surrounded each Velkari cruiser like fireflies, attaching themselves to hulls. Moments later, silence again, then the Velkari ships began to vanish one by one, dissolving into thin air, not exploding, disappearing as if space itself was swallowing them whole. What are they doing to us?" Tharok whispered. "Taking you apart," Ward's voice answered through the speakers. "Piece by piece, atom by atom. You wanted to study us? Now it's your turn." The screen cut off, the bridge dimmed. Vibrations shook the deck as the eternal blade began to fade from the sensors of its own crew. The hull shimmered, breaking into light particles. The screams of soldiers filled the air, not from pain, but from terror. They could feel their own ship melting, not from heat, but from data loss and their existence being rewritten. Xylan roared, "No! I am Lord Xylan of Velkar. I command the—" He never finished. The deck vanished beneath his feet. The stars swallowed him whole. Only silence remained. From far above, humanity watched, in orbit. Commander Lewis stood inside a command room on the human flagship Odyssey. Screens showed the last moments of the Velkari fleet. Each ship's data stream was being recorded, compressed, stored. The Velkari Empire's most guarded secrets. "Now belonging to Earth, status report," Lewis said. "All targets neutralized," an officer replied. "Casualties? None. They never even fired back." Lewis stared at the screens, his reflection flickering across a map of the stars. They wanted to invade, he said quietly, but they gave us everything instead. Back at the Galactic Council, chaos erupted. The hall that once echoed with laughter now shook with panic. Ambassadors shouted, voices clashing in fear. Velkari fleet lost. No signal. Human interference confirmed. Elder Varen stood in silence, watching them crumble under the weight of their arrogance. You still don't understand, he said softly. Humans do not conquer because they want power. They conquer because you force them to. The council ignored him once again. They began drafting emergency fleets, sending messages, trying to form alliances. But deep down they all knew. If the Velkari, the oldest warrior empire, could fall in minutes, no one was safe. In the cold of space, the last fragments of the Eternal Blade floated near Earth's orbit. Among the debris, a small black box blinked. A Velkari distress beacon. But when it transmitted, it didn't send their coordinates. It sent human coordinates, new frequencies, new codes, as if humanity had rewritten even the signal that was meant to save them. Elder Varen's staff glowed faintly in his hands as he gazed at the stars. He whispered almost to himself, "It's too late now." The galaxy laughed at the warning, but the stars never laughed twice. Somewhere beyond the edge of the solar system, a massive human structure came online. Its lights formed the same three-line symbol that had appeared on alien screens before. It pulsed once, and space around it bent like glass. The Velkari were gone. Their empire still stood, but without ships, without leadership, without pride. And for the first time in centuries, the galaxy understood fear, not because humans had destroyed, but because humans had learned, and now they were ready to move beyond their world. The truth about humanity, the great council hall stood in silence. For the first time in centuries, no one spoke, no one argued. The news of the Velkari fleet's disappearance had spread across every system in the galaxy. 600 worlds. Vanished in less than an hour. Holograms of the wreckage filled the air. Pieces of ships, black box fragments, and coded signals. Every piece carried the same mark. A circle with 3 glowing lines, the symbol of the humans. No one knew what it meant. No one wanted to ask. Elder Varen sat at the center of the council chamber. His silver hands shook as he opened an old crystal archive, one older than the council itself. "I warned you," he whispered, voice trembling. "I told you the ancients made them." The younger delegates leaned closer. "What do you mean made them?" One asked. "They are a natural species, are they not?" Varen shook his head slowly. "No," he said. "Humans are not natural. They are the oldest design of war ever made." The chamber gasped. Light flickered across the ancient holograms, showing broken worlds, forgotten ruins, and beings with golden eyes. "The ancients," Varen continued, "were creators of life, builders of galaxies. They shaped civilizations like clay. But when they made the humans, something went wrong." He turned the crystal toward the council. It showed images of a past war, a war so old it had no name. The ancients had faced a great enemy, one that devoured entire dimensions. To fight it, they created humans, creatures who could learn without limit, adapt without end, and survive through anything. Humans were not the strongest, Varen said, but they were the most dangerous, because they never gave up, never stopped learning, never forgot pain. The hologram changed again, showing Earth in its early age. The ancients had watched humans rise from fire and stone. They grew too fast, too clever. They began questioning their creators, and one day, they turned against them. The ancients tried to erase them, Varen said softly. They wiped their technology, sealed their memories, left them on a single planet, Earth, to start again. The chamber fell deathly still. Every alien there felt a strange chill run through their bodies. The arrogance that once filled the hall began to crumble. But how? One delegate asked, "How can they have such power now?" "They were forgotten." Varen looked up. "Because forgetting doesn't mean forgiving," he replied. "And evolution never sleeps across the galaxy." Strange reports began to flood in. Human ships appearing near ancient ruins, energy readings matching the lost technology of the ancients, whole systems going dark without a single shot fired. "They are remembering," Varen whispered. "Every code, every weapon, every secret that once made the ancients gods." The Draxan Empire's ambassador, a reptilian warlord, slammed his clawed hand on the table. Then we must destroy them now.
Before they rise completely.
Destroy them? Varen said with quiet horror. You cannot destroy what was built to adapt. Every attack you launch will teach them something new. Every weapon you use will make them stronger. Suddenly, the Council's main communication crystal began to glow. The hall went dark as a single transmission took over every screen. It wasn't static. It was a human face. Calm, expressionless, eyes glowing faint blue. We are not your enemies, the voice said. But you made us remember what we were. Every delegate froze. The voice was speaking directly into their minds. Not through sound, but through thought. You called us primitive, weak, unworthy, the human said. You took our skies, mocked our rise, and dared to touch our world. The air itself felt heavy. Lights flickered as the transmission continued. We did not seek war, the voice said. But your arrogance has rewritten the stars. The screen shifted. It showed Earth, not the one the aliens knew. Now its orbit was surrounded by massive structures, glowing rings of white fire. Each ring pulsed like a heartbeat. The human voice whispered, We have reawakened the memory of the ancients, and we will finish what they could not. Then the screen went black. The Council erupted into chaos. They can't have ancient technology. This is impossible. How could we not see this coming? Varen didn't move. He stared at the empty air where the human had appeared. It's not impossible, he said. It's justice. Suddenly, a young messenger ran into the hall out of breath. Council members, he shouted. We've just lost contact with the Koran sector. 8 planets gone. Gasps echoed through the chamber. The delegates turned to Varen in horror. Was it the humans? Someone asked. Varen closed his eyes and nodded. No, he whispered, it was their ancestors. The humans just remembered how to become them again. Outside the hall, the stars flickered like dying candles for the first time in recorded history. The galaxy feared a species from one small blue world, a world that had once been silent, mocked, underestimated. Now its children were awake, and the gods who had tried to erase them would soon be the ones erased. The great silence across the galaxy, sound itself began to fade. No signals, no transmissions, no trading routes, just silence. Worlds that once glowed bright in the darkness now hung like dim, dying embers. The silence did not come with fire or war. It came quietly, like a shadow spreading through starlight. And every empire that once laughed at Earth's name now feared to speak it aloud. The first to vanish was the Draxan Empire. Their homeworld, Kareth, had been covered with golden towers and storm shields. Its people had lived in arrogance for 10,000 years. Then one morning the entire planet went dark. No explosion, no debris, just gone. A black void where their star system used to be. The Council called for emergency meetings, but their messages went unanswered. Entire sectors stopped responding. It wasn't invasion, it was erasure. As if something was moving through space, deleting civilizations from history. Elder Varen stood alone at his balcony, staring at the silent stars. His heart was heavy with the weight of truth. He could feel it. The humans were no longer learning from others. They were remembering who they were. They are rewriting the galaxy, he whispered. Not with war, but with will. In the outer rim, a fleet of the Sirathi Union tried to establish contact with Earth. They came bearing peace symbols, songs of apology. But when their ships entered Sol system, they saw something impossible. Earth was gone, hidden behind a web of glowing structures. Massive rings and black towers stretched across orbit. Each humming softly, the planet's surface could no longer be seen. It pulsed with faint light, as if the world itself had awakened. The Sirathi fleet sent a message, "We seek peace." They waited, and waited then across all their screens. A single message appeared. Peace is learned through silence. Their fleet vanished an instant later. No sound, no fire, no echo, only darkness. Back at the Galactic Council, chaos consumed reason. Leaders screamed for action. Armies assembled, weapons charged. But every time they tried to form a fleet, their systems would shut down. Engines refused to start, power cells drained. Human signals infected their networks like invisible ghosts. "They're not fighting," one ambassador cried. "They're controlling." Varen nodded slowly, his eyes reflecting the fading lights of the chamber. "Control is their mercy," he said, "if they wanted destruction. We'd already be dust meanwhile. Across the cold expanse of the void, humanity had changed. The Earth Defense Command was gone, replaced by something greater, a united mind, a network of human consciousness linked across light years. They no longer spoke through words. They spoke through thoughts, through understanding, through silence. From their new station, the Ascendant, orbiting beyond Neptune, the humans watched. Commander Elias Ward, now more machine than flesh, stood before the star map. Thousands of red dots blinked. Every empire that once ruled. Now they were dimming one by one. They laughed when we warned them, he said quietly. Now they pray for the sound of their own voices. Behind him stood a young girl, no older than 10, with eyes that glowed like silver stars. She wasn't human in the old sense anymore. She was something more. Are we gods now? She asked softly. Ward looked at her for a long moment, then shook his head. No, he said. We're what gods feared we'd become. At the same time, the last surviving members of the Galactic Council met in secrecy. Only 12 remained, 12 out of thousands, each one from a world that had gone dark. They sat around a dim table, their faces pale. We cannot stop them, whispered the Avari Queen, her voice shaking. They are everywhere and nowhere. There must be something, cried another, a weapon, a code, a weakness. Elder Varen closed his eyes. Their weakness was arrogance, he said. And you taught it to them. The hall fell silent again. Even the stars outside the council dome seemed to dim. Then, a low hum filled the air, soft, rhythmic like a heartbeat. The ground trembled beneath them from above. A beam of white light poured into the hall, and through it stepped a figure. Human, tall, calm, dressed in silver light. No weapon, no armor, only eyes that burned like dawn. You called us monsters, the figure said softly. You called us primitive. The delegates froze. Too afraid to breathe, the human raised a hand. We gave you chances to listen, you built walls instead. The light around the human shimmered, and behind it, faint outlines appeared. Millions of human silhouettes standing among the stars. Connected like a vast ocean of thought. We didn't want war, the voice said. Echoing across galaxies. We wanted peace. But peace cannot exist in arrogance. Varen stepped forward, trembling. What will you do with us? He asked. The human looked down at him with a strange, sorrowful smile. Nothing, he said. We will leave you to your silence. And with that, the figure faded. The light vanished and the stars went completely quiet. No sound, no message, no war, just silence, deep and endless. The kind that comes after something greater than gods has walked away. Varen stood alone in the dark chamber. He looked up at the empty sky and whispered, So this is mercy, far away beyond the edge of known space. The Ascendant drifted through the void. The humans aboard no longer slept, no longer dreamed, and they simply watched. They had learned everything, remembered everything, and now they were waiting for the next species to rise, to test them, to mock them, to awaken the cycle once more. Because humans did not destroy the galaxy, they taught it silence. When fear turned to desperation, the galaxy had never been this quiet before. No music, no commerce, no celebrations, only whispers of fear echoing between dying stars. Entire civilizations hid behind their shields, trembling at the name human. Planets that once ruled trade and technology now lived like prey, waiting for shadows that never spoke. But silence breeds desperation, and desperation breeds foolish courage. In a secret sector near the edge of the Orion Arm, the last alliance was formed. 12 surviving empires gathered, enemies turned allies. Their banners, once shining in pride, were now tattered and colorless. They came together not for victory but for survival. At the center of the War Council stood the new commander of the alliance, Emperor Kale of the Thar Dominion. His eyes burned with anger and fear. We can no longer hide, he said, voice echoing across the chamber. The humans have erased half the galaxy in silence, but they bleed like us. And every being that bleeds can die. Many agreed, desperate to believe. But no one has seen them in years, another shouted. They don't use ships, they don't use weapons. How do you fight ghosts? Kale slammed his fist on the table. You burn their ghosts, he roared. He pointed to a hologram. The glowing image of Sol, humanity's star. We strike their heart. We destroy their sun if the humans are gods. Then let us kill their heaven. Gasps filled the room. Even the boldest leaders hesitated. Attacking a star was forbidden, madness beyond measure. But they were out of time. The humans had turned gods into memories, and fear had made courage easy. The Alliance began Project Eclipse. Hundreds of massive warships gathered at the edge of the solar system, each armed with weapons powered by collapsing stars, the strongest energy known. They would aim all at once, fire, and erase the sun itself. As their fleet approached the Sol boundary, strange things began to happen. Sensors flickered, navigation drifted, ships reported hearing whispers over open channels, voices speaking in their own tongues. But when translated, every voice said the same words. Go back. Kale ignored them. Stay on course, he ordered. His fleet moved forward, engines burning brighter behind them. Entire worlds waited for news and for hope. For revenge, finally, they reached it. The sun stood before them, burning in its eternal light, but something was wrong. Around it floated enormous rings, black and gold. Alive and pulsing, each ring shimmered like a heartbeat. Energy readings went off the scale. What are those? A pilot cried. To stations? Weapons? Kale stared in disbelief. No, he said slowly, those are defenses. The moment he said it, the stars themselves shifted one by one. Massive human ships emerged from the light, silent, silver, endless. They didn't move like machines. They drifted like thoughts, graceful, unstoppable. Every screen in the fleet went black. Then, a human face appeared, calm, cold, glowing with soft white light. You never learn, the voice said. You were given silence as mercy, but you turned it into fear, Kale shouted. You killed our people. You erased our worlds. The human didn't respond immediately. When it finally spoke, its words felt like truth itself. We didn't kill them, it said. We freed them from arrogance, Kale growled. Fire the weapon. The command spread through the fleet. Hundreds of cannons charged. The galaxy itself seemed to hold its breath. Then in one blinding moment, the Alliance unleashed everything they had. Beams of light, brighter than suns, shot toward Earth's star. The void shook with power, but the sun did not move. The energy vanished halfway, bending, twisting, swallowed by something unseen. The human's voice echoed again, softer now, almost pitying. You tried to destroy our star, it said. But you forgot. We became one with it long ago. The rings around the sun began to turn, slow at first, then faster. Each rotation sent waves of golden light across the void. Ships began to melt, not from heat, but from memory. Their atoms unraveling, their histories erased. Planets light years away flickered as if someone was rewriting reality itself. Kale watched his fleet disintegrate before his eyes. No, no, he screamed. You can't be gods. You can't. But the human voice answered, quiet and final. We are not gods. We are what comes after them. A final pulse spread through the system. The stars dimmed, the sun glowed white, and then everything went still. When the light faded, the Alliance fleet was gone. Only the empty void remained, glowing faintly with human symbols. On the far side of the galaxy, Elder Varen awoke in his chamber, gasping for breath. His old heart trembled as his staff flickered with light. He walked to the balcony and saw the night sky. Whole constellations were missing. Entire regions of the galaxy erased. They've done it, he whispered. They've become the storm itself. Then, across every remaining world, one message appeared in every language. Soft, slow, final. We did not want this. But silence was not enough. And just like that, and every screen turned off. Every transmission ended, and the galaxy fell into eternal stillness. Not conquered, not destroyed, just silent. Waiting for whatever humanity had become. For in their fear, the empires had united against humans. But in their arrogance, they had given humans a reason to transcend, and now, the universe itself belonged to the children of Earth. Children who no longer needed to speak. Because even the stars now whispered in their language. The end of Arrogance darkness swallowed the galaxy. Not the kind that comes from night, but the kind born after pride dies. Stars still burned, but their light no longer reached the eyes of those who once ruled them. Empires had fallen silent, their voices lost in the vast echo of regret. And far beyond what remained of the known worlds, something stirred near the edge of creation, a quiet hum, low, deep, endless. It was not a ship, not a weapon, not even a planet. It was the ascendant humanity's final creation, drifting like a silver god between dying suns. Inside it, there was no single ruler, no commander, no government, only consciousness. Billions of human minds linked together, moving as one heartbeat. Their thoughts formed oceans of light that pulsed through the corridors. They no longer needed words, only intent. They had become what the ancients once dreamed of, unity beyond flesh, but something in them still remembered. The laughter of the council, the mockery of alien empires, the centuries of silence forced upon them, and above all, the warning that no one listened to. Elder Varen stood alone on his dying world. The skies above him cracked with storms of ash. His people were gone, his empire reduced to dust. He raised his old eyes toward the stars that had once listened to him when no one else did. "You warned them," a voice said behind him. He turned slowly. A human stood there, tall, calm, cloaked in silver light, eyes like molten dawn. "Who are you?" Varen whispered. The human smiled faintly. "We are the consequence." The old alien trembled. You destroyed them all." "No," the human said softly. "They destroyed themselves." The wind howled around them, the sky above flickered, showing faint shadows, entire galaxies folding into silence. "Why?" Varen asked me. "Why erase what we built?" The human looked upward. "Because you built it on arrogance," he said. "Every empire that rose believed it was eternal. Every world thought itself untouchable, until one small blue planet proved that eternity belongs to those who never stop learning." Varen sank to his knees. "Then what now? Will you rule the galaxy?" The human's voice grew softer, almost sorrowful. "No, we will leave it to heal." He extended a hand, light glowing between his fingers. "The universe needs silence to grow again. We gave it that gift." Varen stared at the light. It was warm, not cruel. For a moment he understood. Humanity had not destroyed to conquer. They had destroyed to reset. "You were right," Varen whispered. "About what?" "That the stars would never laugh twice." The human's expression softened. He knelt beside the old alien and placed a hand on his shoulder. "You were the only one who listened," he said. "You'll remember this piece." And with that, the light around them brightened. Varen looked up one last time, and the clouds parted, revealing the sky filled with shimmering shapes. They were not ships. They were souls. The consciousness of entire species being lifted into something beyond time. Their histories preserved, their pain erased. Humanity had not killed. They had transcended every boundary of power. Inside the Ascendant, the collective human mind opened a window into the void. They could see the universe now, the way the ancients once did, not in space and distance, but in meaning. Every star, every life, every mistake, and connected like veins of light. And then in the middle of that infinite glow, a small spark appeared, blue, soft, fragile, Earth. The world that started everything, still there, still alive, still beating beneath all the technology and transcendence. A voice rose within the network, a child's voice. "Are we done?" Millions of thoughts answered as one. "No, we are beginning again." The child asked, "Will they fear us again?" The answer came like a sigh of galaxies. "Only if they forget what fear taught them." And slowly, the Ascendant began to move, not through space, but through existence itself. Its silver light stretched across the stars, awakening the sleeping corners of creation. Where there was destruction, they planted memory. Where there was silence, they left hope. Humanity was no longer a species. It was the balance between creation and consequence. Back on the surface of what was once the council world, the ground turned to gold dust. Elder Varen smiled faintly as light wrapped around him. His last breath carried a whisper. "You were the storm, but you became the rain," and then he was gone. The planet's last stone crumbled, its dust rising into the new dawn of the universe. Far away in the heart of the Ascendant, the voice of humanity spoke one final message. It echoed across all dimensions, soft but endless. "We were warned. You mocked us. You feared us. And now you understand we were never gods. We were the lesson." The stars pulsed once more in quiet understanding. Then for the first time in countless ages, the galaxy began to dream again. Not of war, not of pride, but of a single truth whispered through eternity. The Galactic Council tried to warn them, but arrogance destroyed them all. And in the silence that followed, humanity simply moved on, leaving behind not ruins, but a universe finally humble enough to listen.